Their concerns once again over the congestion at the Beitbridge border post in Limpopo. The Road Freight Association says the situation has improved in some ways, but some of the challenges relate to a new processing structure that was implemented on the Zimbabwe side. CEO of the Road Freight Association, Gavin Kelly, joins us now to talk about this particular problem. Mr. Kelly, thank you very much for your time. Is it only the Beitbridge border post that is problematic at this stage? What about the others?
Good morning, Collie, and all your viewers and listeners, if some are streaming. Yeah, Collie, this is a problem that really is sad because it isn't only Beitbridge. Now, Beitbridge has an issue because of a new system that the Zimbabweans brought into play, and late yesterday afternoon we've got some of that resolved, and that was really only by putting in other measures to ensure that the trucks were flowing. On the Zimbabwean side, the queue did disappear yesterday. I'm not quite sure where it is right now, but we haven't had reports of a queue there. The South African side has still got a bit of a queue, and we're still pushing to get that through. But that isn't the only border that has an issue. There's an issue at the Limpopo border, where the queues there on an average every day are about 6 to 7 kilometers long. And again, it is around a processing issue. So there are systems which require drivers to get out of their trucks and to fill in a form and to pay money to go into Mozambique. And that takes about 25 to 30 minutes. So you can imagine if you have 100 trucks a day coming up to the border to cross and you times that by 30 minutes, you can't do that in a day. That just creates queues. So really tearing our hair out because we've tried to modernize, and SARS has been really at the forefront to help us to get new electronic systems in place. We try to clear before we get to the border, and it seems every time we shoot ourselves in the foot when we bring something new in, and then we require the drivers to fill in forms at the border. That's really the problem right now. Yeah,
and so these forms are being filled out manually, and you talk about modernizing. Why is it that we would go back to a paper system when, in actual fact, it would seem we were working just fine trying to modernize?
Coley, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And hopefully we're going to resolve that. We've got a pilot program that we're going to implement pretty soon at Limpopo, so the border that goes into Risana Garcia. Unfortunately, some of these things are not within our own customs structures. They're from the neighboring country, and hopefully they're going to listen to what we want to do and modernize there as well, without pointing any fingers. But if we're going to do it electronic, if we're going to do it before we get to the border, let's do everything, including paying of this fee or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. In December, this very situation hit us in South Africa, and there were all manner of accusations. Some had to do with the COVID situation. Right now, though, Gavin, how would you say the drivers are coping with the situation? Because one of the major concerns at that time was that some of the drivers had lost their lives.
Yeah, Coley, that was a COVID-driven thing. So obviously we were still finding our feet in terms, I think, of health authorities and inter-country relations in terms of allowing people to enter. So there were those testings that were being done. What we've been able to do in the interim just for the COVID side is to get tests done faster and to allow them to be valid for a longer period. But I think that's because we've learned a lot more about COVID and the virus and what sort of ramifications there are there. Yeah. But we didn't have basic sanitation. We didn't have water. We didn't have food because nobody in their right mind or nobody plans to hold our drivers at a place in the middle of absolutely nowhere, far away from towns, for more than a couple of hours at worst, never mind a week or two. So that is still an issue, and we still try to get water and food and sanitation devices to our drivers, but we are just addressing a symptom. We have to address that cause that the drivers don't stand there. So if we know there's going to be a problem, we now need to make sure that we have infrastructure away from the border. So, for example, let's say we build something at Musina, and if we know there's a problem and the trucks can't get through quickly, that we hold the trucks then or the drivers at a town where we can look after them, ensure not only their health but also their safety, because they are targets while they stand out on the road.
Gavin Kelly, thank you very much for this update. We are going to continue monitoring the situation. Gavin is the Road Freight Association CEO.
It is within their party structures, within their party mechanisms, that makes it so difficult for women to emerge as political leaders.
All right, Temi Lembete, thank you very much for your time. She's a political analyst.